Okay, I'd like to welcome you this evening for this event put on by the Transition Soup Group, the Soup Transition Town Society. Okay, I want to start by acknowledging that we are on the lands of the South First Nation, and that we're close to their home place for thousands of years. And we honor that by remembering and acknowledging.
I can't hear you.
Okay. Mr. Stephen up there, you can let me know if I can pass better. Okay. So, we acknowledge that. We have three candidates for mayor this evening. The incumbent, Mayoral Tate, her worship, Mayoral Tate, and Councillor Kevin Pearson, and Mick Rose. I welcome them to the we have three moderators helping me out here. We've got Bernie behind me here doing the timing, and we have Yvonne Laporte and Mark Ziegler reading the questions. So we're all set to do that. The evening is going to unfold by having opening statements by the candidates, a couple of minutes, and then we draw lots for position of who goes first and all that kind of stuff. And then they're able to draw a question from the hat as they get ready to do that. And the moderator will read the question, and we have 3 answers coming from all candidates with a maximum time of roughly 90 seconds. We need to do that because if we go too long with the questions, we won't have enough time for a decent question and answer for the audience for your participation in the evening. So we want to make sure that we cover the questions, as some of them are fairly complex, and we're looking for fairly sharp, concise statements based on what people want to say about their participation in all of this. And then we'll have a break, and then questions and answers for the audience. So I'm going to call upon Mayor Tate to open the evening with her remarks.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here this evening, and many thanks to Transition Soup for hosting tonight's event. Why does municipal government matter? Why do they say that municipalities and mayor and council are the closest to the people? I believe it's because local government is about you and me and all of us together in a community and the values that we honor and treasure. When I do work advocating to senior levels of government for infrastructure funding, it's because I know that on your road there's a pothole that needs to be filled, or a street light that we need to make it safer for all of us, so that we can walk and explore and enjoy everything that Soup offers. Community events and people in our community being out and celebrating is also important. And local government has a role in supporting, sponsoring, and encouraging these type of events. It's these community values and how we grow together as a community that matters. And at the council table, we make the decisions that impact you the most. What happens on your land, what kind of businesses we wish to encourage, and what amenities exist for seniors and for children. I love the work of local government. I'm very proud to be standing before you as a mayor for 4 years now in this past term. It's a wonderful experience working with others at the table as well, and I feel that together it's this collaboration. It's all of us working together, taking a collegial approach to issues, that we end up with good outcomes. Outcomes that represent the values of our community and what's important to all of us. And that's why I'm seeking election again. I love the work. It's more than a job. It's more than a duty. It's more than being a glorified volunteer with a stipend. It's a way of life. And as Sue grows and evolves and changes, my family too grows and evolves and changes. And so it's important that I see that Sue's potential is realized so that there's a future for my son. And that aging parents or any of yours or neighbors have access to health care when it's needed the most. And I feel that your council's worked hard to make a difference in the lives, to improve the quality of life for all of us. And I look forward to continuing that work. So I ask your support on October 20th to re-elect T in 1-8.
Thank you. So by now everybody knows I'm Kevin Pearson. I'm born and raised in Sioux. And local government is really about the past, the present, and the future. And we sit on council. It's an extreme privilege to be shaping the present and into the future. I have grandchildren now who live in the Sioux area. They're not actually voters, or their parents are not actually voters, but they're going to be using the services of Sioux. They're going to be growing. They're going to be going to school. They're going to be taking part in sports. They're going to be enjoying what it is that we have here in Sioux. So my duty is to look at the present, try to shape the future, but it's not about me. You know, we run an election, and we have a passion to say that I'm going to be the best or I'm going to do a great job, but it's really not about me. It's about the future. It's about those kids. How do we shape our community? How do we take our values from the past that we hold so dearly to our heart, the volunteerism in Sioux, that we've always known and relied on? People are getting tired. Some of our senior volunteers in our community are well into their 70s and 80s. And I look at those people and I'm in awe. I go sit at a council meeting for 6 or 7 hours and I think, oh man, I've had a rough night. And then I think about the tireless volunteers that are shaping our community for decades. The Jack Brooks Hatchery, you think about the number of people that are out there shaping that, and tireless people. The Community Association, the softball, Sioux Athletic Association, the figure skating, it goes on and on and on of people that have shaped our community. So I hold dearly those values that are deeply entrenched in our community. I promise you that I will protect those values. I promise that I'll look at the uses of what we do every day, and I'll take it seriously. I'm not running for Kevin, I'm running for all of you, and our children, and our grandchildren, and generations after that. So the decisions we make today will shape their future. And if we're careful, they'll have a quality of life that we've all enjoyed. We all came here from somewhere else. This is the traditional territory of the Sioux Nation. And that welcoming that they extended to us has to continue on through generations to come. So on October 20th, I hope you'll vote with your senses and emotions and thought about the future, because I guarantee you I'll protect that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Rose. I am the alternate French candidate. I think I'm just going to introduce myself in the sense that I moved here from Calgary in 1977. When I arrived in Sioux, I came up for a friend's wedding, and I wound up staying. I loved what I saw. Sioux at that time, sleepy, logging, fishing village, and half the Sioux was gravel roads. Potholes. My friend John, he took me over to Broomhill Village, 1977, when Broomhill was just getting started, and I just looked around at some new houses, sidewalk or two, street lights, and I just went, this is things to come to Sioux. I wish I'd come here sooner. Well, I lived here for 15 years, and I did see Sioux begin to grow. We did get our first traffic light. The roads got paved, the potholes filled in. And then I moved away to Victoria in '92 for work related. I was a truck driver and I decided to have a career change. So I went into journalism and I spent 17 years in Victoria. I got involved with non-government organizations, advocacy groups, advocate for this and that. And, you know, it was a daily thing for me that, you know, sitting down with committees and formulating policies that we would take to City Hall, raising public awareness on many, many issues there. And I've worked with the Victoria Immigrant and Refugee Center. I've collaborated with First Nations. I've done educational videos. I'm a journalist. My forte is research. So when I'm looking into things, I research what's there before I write my story. And so I've been doing a lot of research on Souk, and I moved back here in 2009, and I was going to go into early retirement. I'm now retired, 1 year in, and I'm thinking, I live out in Otterpoint. I can't even vote for myself, but I love this town, you know, and so, yeah, really, I'll vote for my kids. Yeah, there's one. And so, here I am, and I'm retired, and I'm going, well, you know, you got all this time on your hands. You could sit on your hands. And I'm going, I can't do it. I've been gifted. You know, I have gifts here, and I want to raise public awareness that I'm not happy with what I see in Souk and what have you. I think things are moving too fast. We need to slow it down. And I will flesh out my opinions with the questions and everything. I have a lot of prepared answers. A famous person once said, don't memorize what you can look up. So enjoy the evening. Number one. All right. I know what's first.
At 1 minute, you will hear, and again at 90 seconds. Okay?
We have, how long, I'm sorry?
90 seconds.
For all answers? Or?
Yeah, minute and a half.
Minute and a half, thank you. You haven't started yet?
No, not yet.
And if I do run over a little, Bernie, it's like I have some sugar in it. Okay. Should I read the question out loud? What do we got? Number 12, everybody. All right, turn to number 12.
I got Dave Ron will speak to that.
Okay.
Cosmetic pesticide ban. BC municipalities have the right to ban the use of cosmetic or non-essential pesticides, i.e. the use of pesticides to enhance the appearance of lawns and gardens within their borders. Would you support such a bylaw in Souk? It is Transition Souk's view, shared with the Canadian Cancer Society and many reputable peer-reviewed scientific studies, that pesticides pollute our streams and harbors and endanger the health of people, pets, and wildlife.
Okay. Yes. Okay, everybody good? Okay, cosmetic pesticide ban.
Can I interrupt a minute? Can everyone please have the microphone in front of your mouth like that?
Okay.
And keep 2 inches away. Perfect.
Everybody
Thank you.
good? All right.
Yeah.
Let's go over the points made in the question. I basically read it all again, but I'm all in agreement. They've made past measures in Victoria, other municipalities, and I'm going, why not here?
Simple. Well, at least you didn't put that on. So I read that question, as you know, was preparing. I came up with a real simple answer: yes. absolutely, we have to get with the times. The world's changing. We've seen over time where chemicals were used in the past are no longer acceptable. So, water is a shortage. It's a vital resource that we count on not only here but across the island. We're seeing drying conditions. So any chances or risks that we're going to be destroying our watershed or any parts of it, we have to take proactive measures. And straightforward, yes, absolutely.
Soup rocks. You see that, right, in the landscaping that we've done as a municipality? Landscaping with rocks. There's no need for any chemicals. I think it's a good example that the district has done so far, using drought-resistant landscaping as well. I know our Parks Department is probably using an industrial-strength vinegar instead of pesticides on all the areas that they maintain in our town, and it's a great way to begin. I like the work that we did with Transition Soup. On a few occasions, there was delegations on how to go about banning plastic bags, something that's very important for the protection of our streams and waterways. So I'd like to see that approach as we introduce a change to the bylaw. I agree with the other speakers that it's timely, but when it comes to the community with a shared vision, it's that much stronger. And then it's just not council coming up with something, it's all of us together coming up with a solution. So I look forward to hearing from the Transition Soup delegation in the coming year.
Question number 2.
The principle of smart growth is integral to the OCP. That's the official community plan. What does smart growth mean to you? Do you see smart growth revitalizing downtown Soup? What else, if anything, is needed to fix the downtown core?
Okay. For me, smart growth is about social, economic, and the environment. So if you can balance all three of those in your construction and your densification of your core areas, then you've addressed the smart growth principles. Our service areas looks like a potential combination of residential and retail, business, commercial opportunities. If we can do that in our downtown core, through things like pre-zoning, encouraging to go up, to get walkability, to get serviceability, to get a friendly downtown core, then we're meeting the objectives of smart growth. The opportunity to walk, the opportunity to bike, the opportunity to not even have a car. That's the principles of smart growth. What can we do in our downtown core to improve it? We can start putting design standards. We can start using design standards. We can start implementing bike racks as part of the decision to on a DP, things like that. So I think that smart growth is the only way to go when you have a sewer specified area like we do in our downtown.
Is everyone familiar with an OCP? It's an official community plan, and it's a guiding document that puts together all the policies as community-driven on how we would like our future to unfold, and it guides development of land within the municipality. Smart growth, to me, is using our infrastructure wisely. It's walkability, it's preserving natural spaces, and consideration of community values. So when we put the two together, we see some of this work has already started. Within town, the roundabout has improved traffic flows and has eased up on the idling time in the past. Sidewalk improvements that are accessible. We have walkways down Horn Road and a Goodmere link, as well as improved repaired staircase down to the water. So these things have all started, but we need to keep these things rolling and improve on them. We also need to encourage more people to get into town on trails, perhaps on a scooter, a bike, pushing a stroller, or walking. And perhaps there's a way to encourage more activity to draw more people in. Our businesses are off to a great start. Bikes lock up. So I think it's talking to the cycling community. Did you know this infrastructure exists? Or are you looking for a safer option? I think we have a great amount of work that's already underway, and that sort of work needs to continue. We've set a very good standard for our town center.
Okay, I'll read from my prepared notes here. Smart growth is having a mix of land uses, zoning bylaws that allow a range of housing opportunities, not just standard housing, $500,000 plus mortgages, but affordable tiny houses, modular homes, smaller mortgages. For young families, a smaller mortgage may allow one of the parents to remain at home and raise the kids. And as the family grows in size, they can sell their tiny home and make a down payment on the larger home. For downsizing seniors, if they decide to sell their primary home, they can outright purchase a tiny home, modular home, and use the extra capital saved from selling their larger home towards their retirement. In actuality, we would in fact be rotating the housing stock in suit to accommodate the different age groups and their purchasing power. We should plan to have all major high-density, multiple-density housing situated on the north side of Suit Road to divert our local vehicle traffic away from growing traffic congestion we're witnessing on Suit Road, and eventually finish the Grant Road connector route. If we want tourists and day trippers, the new library is situated. There's still time. A seniors' youth activity center in the park. I say let's do it, but it all depends on who you elect to council.
Thank you.
Food security. One measure of a community's resilience is its ability to feed itself. Our local nonprofits, Souk Region Food Chief and the Souk Farmland Trust, promote farmland protection, regional food security, and a vibrant, locally grown food economy. What might the District of Souk do to promote and support these critical objectives? What new initiatives are possible?
Thank you. Our fall fair has been celebrated here for over 100 years. A number of other initiatives have happened. Sun River Allotment Gardens, Grace Gardens at the Baptist Church, John Muir Learning Garden. All of these opportunities connect our residents with our land and provide opportunities for our children to put their hands into the soils. I think there's a great start with the various things that we've done, and council supporting by grants these various community groups that do all of this is what's important in making our community complete. Some new initiatives would be to encourage developers to include allotment gardens for their residents. Perhaps edible landscaping would be an option. 10 years ago or so, the Food Chief held a farm forum, and it was in this room here. And it had later on included a lunch or an early dinner at Woodside Farm. And I don't remember who I spoke with that day or even what was served, but I remember just the connection of people, sharing a meal and talking about ideas and solutions for our community. I'd like to see that kind of event happen again, and the opportunity to celebrate all that we've done already and new possibilities to come. I know that our food bank works very closely with the Grace Gardens, bringing fresh produce and food into families that need it, providing seeds for gardens on balconies. So much that we can do together. Thank you.
Food security. Back in the 1960s, we grew more than 80% of our food on the island. Meat, dairy, vegetables. Today it's reversed. I guess we could improve on that. Need I say more? You can check out my platform. How about a farm land acquisition fund? We have the CRD land acquisition fund, to buy up parkland, wilderness parkland. Somebody suggested, maybe part of that levy, there's a $20 levy per household through the CRD. Part of that levy could be put towards purchasing of land for farming. It's quite expensive. But if we have a farm land acquisition fund, we could assist young families in acquiring land for cultivation. I wholeheartedly support and acknowledge the tremendous contributions of the Souk Region food cheap, and
Thank you. Fundamental to food security is continuing on with the ag plan that we have in place. Ensuring the plans are in place to get water to all of our boundaries in our Souk area, so that the water lines need to extend where our more rural properties are, because water is a key element of increasing food security in our area. There's great work being done on experimenting with small-scale growing in your backyard. There's community grow-up gardens that are around that Mayor Tate had mentioned. So those are ideas that start with an embryo. What we need to do as a council is we need to embrace that it's important to us. We need to lead by example. I think that we're always out there, one of the things in subdivisions is that we plant trees, boulevard trees. I don't know if we've ever planted a nut tree or a seed tree or an apple tree. So things that promote where food can be growing are the key to being successful with food security in the future. We're doing a lot of really good work now. We just need to expand on that. But it needs to be part of our strategic plan going forward, so that we're considering food security in all of our decision making.
Well, I'm really pleased that I'm really pleased that you've chosen number 5. Each of you have signed the Charter for Compassion. Thank you very much for doing that. And this question relates to it. The Transition Town movement recognizes that individuals and communities want to be authors of their own stories, hopeful, active, and connected, rather than despairing, passive, and cynical. What would you do to encourage hope, civic participation, and a sense of belonging in Souk?
okay. I'll read from my prepared notes. Souk is phenomenal in its volunteerism. We all owe our deepest gratitude to those who offer their time and services in the betterment of our community. One of my campaign proposals is to revive All Souk Day. It should be a day when we honor all of our volunteer groups and perhaps have a volunteer drive to recruit new volunteers. I envision rows of volunteer tables advertising their services, local arts and crafts, scheduled evening of musical performances, a horseshoe tournament, smoked salmon contest. Let's all be creative and join in. Let's bring All Souk Day back. Let's have more green space. In particular, let's rally around a central waterfront park and a Citizens Plaza. Let's lower the speed limit on all of our secondary roads and the downtown core in Souk to 40 kilometers. I drove part-time for Souk Taxi. I drove around 40 intentionally just to see what would happen. No problem. I drive 30 kilometers in residential streets just because I want our streets to be safe. We don't have to be in a hurry in Souk. Why did we move to Souk? Let's lower the speed limit. Let's respect everyone's space and place. We need more sidewalks and streetlights, but slowing down our pace, we have an unintended bonus. It would allow more strategic placing of sidewalks and streetlights to critically needed areas. Thank you.
Well, for me, it's about being positive. A sense of belonging isn't something that you can just dump on. There's not magic dust, there's not magic fairy dust that you can have a sense of belonging in your community. It's about active engagement in your community. I talked earlier about the values. One of my favorite things that's come to be in our downtown core is the Christmas parade. When I see 1,500 people coming out to watch our Christmas parade, there's nothing better, there's nothing more positive than that. People get out to see something positive, and they take pride in their downtown. If we can link events like the Christmas parade, or eventually all soup diggers have heard that, to the businesses in the downtown core, and a sense of pride that they want to participate, then everyone wants to be there. And that comes from each of us. It comes from our heart. We often talk about how do we improve. How about focus on what we already have? We've got a beautiful town. We're doing great things, past councils, and this council has done great things to improve the downtown core. I think those are the things that link us together. It's the quality of life. It's the recreational opportunities. It's the nearness to the sea, a clean ocean, unburnt up bush behind us. All of those things that add to our quality of life are really about connecting us to our town. Be proud of our town. I'm proud to be from Sioux, and I think everyone should be.
I love all the festivals that we have. Fine Art Show, Music Festival, Apple Festival, the Bluegrass, all the great things that happen and take as the seasons change. It draws us into theater and other productions where we gather inside together. And they're excellent. There's just so many things that happen all the time. I love the mountains that surround us. You've probably seen me out on my bike. These days I'm chasing my son to the forest. I might bring my dad out sometimes. We go down by the water, down to Wickenspit, Ella Beach, or many of the wonderful places along the river. And I share this in photos. You know, just capturing a moment and just showcasing what a great quality of life we have here. And I'm just so grateful to have all these things. Every weekend, there's something amazing happening in our town. I'm a community volunteer at heart. And I love going to these things. As I'm sure all of you do as well, because I've seen you there. And I think we should be proud of it. And a great way for a community as a district, a municipality to celebrate it is through communities in bloom. More than just flowers. Our highlight this year was the all-weather turf field, something that it took a whole community to build together. So I love what we're doing, and I feel, you know, walk the trail. I see it in my dad's eyes when he gets back in the forest, and the joy in my son's face. So I share it by doing it.
Question number 1.
How can we effectively control growth and ensure that the values enshrined in our official community plan, OCP, are respected and maintained?
How can we control growth? We can control growth by ensuring densification on the sewer specified area. We can actually force where development should happen. It's not an easy task to control growth, but if you look at your plan, your OCP is your guiding document, you can start looking at things being progressive. If you look at pre-zoning properties, not taking away the rights of the current property owner, but the future property owners, so that they know what they can expect when they start developing those properties in our sewer specified area. When we go beyond our areas, we run the risk of being serviceable because they weren't original DCC roads. So to control growth, we have to be very careful. There has to be a sustainable amount of growth. There has to be a balance between the market and the demand, because you can cut off growth and you can inflate.
Unintended consequences? What are we facing? Our unintended consequences have been set in motion. Can we slow down our town's development in the coming years? As I've stated in my platform, let's take a step backwards. Number 1, let's build public infrastructure for those who already live in our community. Number 2, let's build a mix of housing, affordable housing, tiny houses, modular housing, for those who already live here, for our sons and daughters who wish to remain here. Number 3, put a yearly cap on allowable new housing starts. Slow down the migration to Sioux until we have a handle on our own collective future. Yeah, let's just do it. Sioux faces extraordinary times. We need to formulate extraordinary policies. As far as respecting and maintaining our official community plan, We're all in it together, and it will all depend on who you elect to council.
Traffic congestion. Polls indicated that this is the #1 issue for Soup residents. What steps are being taken and might be taken by the district to deal with congestion on our main roads and in residential developments? How would you encourage the mode shift from cars to other forms of transportation if you were to be elected or re-elected mayor?
So as you know, work that has been done has been the roundabout and all the improvements through town. The intersection signal lights have been improved as well. And in the Mirror today, there was an announcement on the improvements to Soup River Road. You may have also seen the Transit Future Bus that was in town. They have a survey online now, and they're looking to find ways on how buses within Soup and out of Soup can be improved. So your feedback is very important at this time. The district also approved funding to update the long-needed transportation master plan. This plan it's 10 years old, 2009, and since then we've had the growth that you've all experienced. This transportation plan will then show where we need to start focusing on road improvements. A few weeks ago there was a tragic accident, and many of us were impacted by it, and lives have been affected by it for many years to come. So we all have a role to play here. And I would encourage Transition Soup to help us encourage mode sharing. Perhaps you can all get to know a neighbor and with a shared destination, carpool together. Use our fantastic trail system to get in and out of Soup. And take the bus. You meet really good people on the bus. You can text, you can watch a movie. There's lots of things. Everything you cannot do in a vehicle, you can do on a bus. Well, almost everything. But you get to enjoy the scenery and everything that we have here. We all have a role to play here. We have to do this together.
All right, I think I probably covered that question earlier with the traffic calming. But we should double the satellite transit service to Sun River, Otter Point, where I am, and East Soup, with more earlier morning running times and late afternoon rush hour times. I ask myself, why isn't this happening now? If there's earlier buses in the morning and later rush hour times in the evening, especially for those who want to shop after work, they'll leave their cars at home. Buses aren't running earlier in Sun River, East Soup, out where I am, Otter Point. If you want to, go into Victoria, you're going to be late for work. It doesn't help us, living on the perimeter. And if you want us on the perimeter taking the bus rather than joining you in the Sukahela Gala, let's increase the bus service and let's increase it overall, which we've been lobbying. And what about weekend service? Perhaps BC Transit could park the minibuses inside the school bus compound and journey to school. Let's also cite more neighborhood zoning for mom and pop shops, so you can walk to the store and back in under 15 minutes. Sun River, Whiffenspit, Maple Avenue. Let's just do it.
Well, it starts off with, the problem is there's too many cars. People work elsewhere and they live here. So we've got to do things like working with major employers to locate here. But before that happens, it has to be easy to do business with us. There's some major employers tech industries that may come here. But we have to plan out with our OCP where these potential opportunities can be. We have to look to the provincial government. Lots of offices now can work by satellite. We have to encourage less transportation on our major arteries. So the developments have to be corridors to the commercial core, and the speaker before me talked about, you have to also have nodes. Commercial nodes have to be built into the major subdivisions that we already have. Those are secrets that are not so secret. If you want to get cars off the road, you have to give people the opportunity to not use them. So improving transportation, if the transportation works, then people will use it. I often hear that it takes 2 hours to go by bus to get to certain locations in the city, but working with BC Transit, as BC Transit is doing their new study right now and their online survey, that will improve the riderability, that will remove some of the cars. But we have to start looking at opportunities within our own community to locate businesses and jobs here, and that will essentially start getting less cars on the road.
Number 10.
A safe, walkable community is essential in encouraging people to get out of their cars. Walkability is also important as we build a more densely populated downtown in Souk. What steps will you take to improve walkability in the town core?
Well, I think I've already mentioned traffic calming. That's one of the reasons why I proposed lowering the speed limit to 40 kilometers. But something I noticed in Victoria when I lived there is that in the early morning, they'd have these mini sweepers that would go around and they would sweep the roads, sidewalks, what have you, of debris and stuff in the early morning, so that, before the tourists arrive. So perhaps we could have a mini type sweeper that sweeps debris off walkable shoulders like they do in Victoria every morning. Apologies to Moontest. One day it could be Cliff and Spit, the next Maple Avenue, maybe the next day Grant Road, Phillips Road, this little sweeper going around, sweep, scoop up the debris so that it's clear for pedestrians and it's clear for, motor scooters, that type of thing, bicycles, probably take an hour or two in the morning, one of the employees get the job done, and lower the speed limit. I do. I drive 30 kilometers on most residential streets because I leave early. I'm not in a hurry, I'm not worried, and I have no fear that I'm going to cause an accident. So let's slow it down, folks. That's what you moved to Souk for, didn't you? If we all follow that simple philosophy, that's how safe our streets could be for everyone. Let's be that model community. We care about our community safety, we slow down.
Thank you.
For me, walkability in the core is clear, defined, and absolutely safe corridors that are built into our downtown core. So if we start expanding our core and start densification, which we should be doing, we need to put trails, safe paths, well lit in the downtown core, and they have to be accessible for people with wheelchairs, people with on crutches or whatever it is, scooters, all the things that come along. But it's more about the design to start with. If you lay out your roads, your back alleys, your service points, then you can absolutely increase the walkability of your downtown core. You have to make it so that people want to walk because it's easier to walk than it is to drive. Currently, we're an automobile community, but if we can build a downtown core with little cut-throughs, little trails to get to the commercial core, it'll absolutely be improved. And it's easy to do. We're working on a transportation master plan right now, and once we have identified the main corridors in our downtown core, then we have to work on the trail network that goes along with that, and the sidewalks. We have many areas of our community that don't have sidewalks, and the roads have been in place for 60, 70 years. So it's time to step up and start putting sidewalks on our existing roadways, not just in the new subdivisions.
I think the new council should take some wheelchairs and strollers and push each other around through the town. We put out these sidewalks, so let's do the accessibility test and see how they are. See where the odd bumps are, what did we overlook? And then as our district staff works with the ministry staff to continue this design over towards Whiff and Spit, let's ensure that it's accessible for everyone. And the best way to do that is to experience it for yourself. I heard today that there's still the odd little piece right here and there that's prohibiting a few seniors from taking the walk into town. So we need to fix that, and the best way to know where it is by experiencing it yourself. We need to get our residents into town. Thanks to the Wandafuka Trail Society, they've come up with a great idea of wayfinding signage, kiosks. We're putting in washrooms, all ways to get people from their various areas into our town, and that great work has started already. There's plans to do a trail crossing over Little River, which is Demonial Creek, connecting Sun River with the schools and back and forth and all the recreational lands on the other side. The momentum is already there. And I think we need to celebrate it so that other people will get out and use it too.
Six. How might you promote growth in quality of life rather than in dollars and cents?
By promoting us as the place to be. Full services here in town, markets all year. Again, the mayor's awards and opportunities for enjoyment of young and old. So what that means is that we need to celebrate when we're doing something good. We need to celebrate where the successes are. We need to celebrate the entrepreneurs in our community. We need to celebrate the volunteers. So the mayor and council should be recognizing people who are busting it and getting things done. For enjoyment of the young and the old, the sports fields, the recreation, the arts, the investing for value, but not for money. So often we focus on costs, but we don't focus on value. So if we start focusing on value, we will start promoting the town that we want to have. It's not always about dollars and cents, and often we're sitting at a council table focusing on the budget without thinking about what does it mean to the value. We have to connect the value to our decision making. Again, strategic planning, focusing on what value means to our community, understanding what people want from the community. But again, celebrating when we're doing some good things and recognizing that. Promote, engage.
Let's recognize that growth hurts. It can hurt as you grow. But it's essential to grow and to develop and to realize your potential. And what do you learn from that? What experiences, what wisdom? So that as you carry on, you improve on what you have. I agree we need to celebrate more and to take time to do that. But I also recognize that there's wisdom that comes from growing, and we can take those into teachable moments and do better and better each time. Souk is an evolving town. We turn 20 next year. And so much has been done, and I really think it's a good time to have a party and to celebrate what we've accomplished together. But growth is painful. I see it in my son when his teeth were coming in, but it's necessary. He's developing into a young person, just as our town is continuing to develop and evolve and grow. And there's wisdom and teachable moments. So let's take time to recognize all of that.
Quality of life. Well, just to shorten this up so we can get to the audience question period. Quality of life, more parks, more festivals, more sports, more music, more community spirit. It's the 20th anniversary next year. Let's bring back All Souk Day.
A mayor is an excellent position to lead by example. What would you personally do as mayor to encourage others to use less energy, to recycle, reduce, reuse?
So as mayor, I sit at the Capital Regional District table, and I stood behind a decision to realize the Heartland Energy Center. And this is a project to take landfill gas and to convert it into clean energy for all of us to use. To no longer flare it, or just have it released into the environment, is to go back into the pipeline. And I think that's a great beginning. We're no longer a one garbage can community. You get that. We've done a lot to separate. We all have our bins, and we all use our waste providers and the like to do all those things. So there's great examples there. I think the biggest one too right now is to give your feedback to transit. This is the first time they're doing a plan for our community. There's the open house that they'll have coming up shortly. So there's great examples. Thank you.
All right. I already lost my place. What was the number? Number 4. Okay, I know it's circulating around here somewhere. Okay. Well, I walk wherever I can, but that could change overnight, health-wise. I ride the bus when it's convenient. I turn off lights if they're not being used, small conscious practices. I shop locally. I do support our small businesses and service providers. Most of my income after paying rent is spent here. I have a small vegetable garden. I purchase vegetables grown locally. And when they're not available, alter my diet. And I base a lot of my shopping decisions on how far the product had to travel to get here. The 100-mile diet appeals to me, but at the present moment, it's not always feasible for me, and perhaps for you too. And I am challenged by my fixed income, which can limit my choices. One of the best choices I can recommend: plan your vehicular trips and avoid going into Colwood unless you work there or for medical reasons, etc. Or maybe you want to watch a movie. Make carpooling a habit. Ride the bus. Let's not necessarily clog up Soup Road. Let's make it easier for tourists and day trippers to visit Soup.
Any elected official has to be in tune with the potential wins, like green initiatives. What would I do? I'd work with the private sector, the developers, to come to the table. Come with ideas. Government doesn't always have the best ideas. As a matter of fact, they have probably some of the worst ideas. The private sector, they come to the table with ideas to improve, reuse, recycle. Why don't we have a recycling depot in Sioux? Why are we not pressing that as a government? Why are we not making it easier? So we have to recognize, we have to reward, and we have to publicize when things are going right and what we want to do. If we want to encourage that type of business, then we have to be the leaders on our side. But we have to make it easy for people to do business with us. One of the methodologies that I use in my other role is I steal shamelessly. And when I say that, is that there's lots and lots of good ideas out there. We don't always need to reinvent the wheel. We can steal shamelessly from other areas that are already doing great things, because if we look around our country and we look around our province, or we even look around our 13 municipalities, lots of people have great initiatives going. You don't have to Google very hard to find great initiatives and good things to do. So leading by example means being on the forefront, looking for those opportunities. Have your spidey sense on where we can make improvements.
The official community plan, the OCP, includes a commitment to thrivability. What does that mean to you, and how would you encourage thrivability in Sioux?
Well, thrivability is a path out of unsustainable practices and using regenerative techniques that encourage the community not to overuse, not to use more energy than we need to. And it's a mind shift to create more value than we consume. So thrivability means that we got a social responsibility. We have to be the stewards of our land. We have to use wisely, not wasteful. If we embrace those techniques ourselves as a local government, well then that's the path for others to follow. So thrivability means being a responsible human being on the planet. It's incumbent upon all of us to be able to do that. Use less water than you need. Don't pollute the water that you need. Don't drop plastics into the water. All of the things that seem to have been in this era of hurrying up and moving through need to be changed. We had smoke all over our community this year. That's climate change. We're told that it's climate change. Last year and this year. So what are we going to do to make our planet thrivable? We have to stop consuming at the rate we are right now.
Well, to thrive, positive development, realizing its potential, to be able, or capable, competent, and possess all the skills necessary to carry it out. Sustainability, maintaining change in a balanced fashion. Thrivability to me means all of these things together. So for Souk, it's for our community to realize its potential. So let's celebrate what we've done so well. We have beautiful buildings with wonderful design and green initiatives. We see what matters to us in places like the brewery, Co-Harborside Housing, Hope Center. These are all wonderful successes that we enjoy in town. Plus we have gardens, we feed other people, we care. We have places to gather, music festivals, the best fine arts show, fall fair, we celebrate business excellence. Charters River had a significant announcement last week. I think for us, it's remembering what these sorts of events and these experiences and how we felt when we shared them all together. I think it's encouraging unique development and hearing from them in terms of what is their vision, what are their ideas, how can we help you? So it's an attitude shift, and it's all of us working together. Let's realize Souk's potential together.
Thrivability. I guess it's been a lifelong pursuit for me. Sometimes I ask myself why, but for me it's 3 pillars. One pillar is environmental values. Well, I guess I've been an environmental activist lifetime, an early age. I was a Cub Scout myself. So the environment, yes, we're all concerned about the environment. I suppose as a community we can do some great things here in Souk, worldwide. That could be problematic. Another pillar I believe in is spiritual values. You know, we all need to look inside ourselves. We need to look outside of ourselves. We need to encourage that in our community. The third pillar for me is the economic pillar. We're all burdened with debt, mortgages. I'd like to see in Souk, maybe we could do things differently. Maybe we could have tiny houses, modular homes, smaller mortgages, you know, so it's less of a burden for our youth who want to get a start in life. Maybe we could do things different, give them a leg up. Maybe we could provide for the homeless in innovative ways. There's a lot of ways. And I'm going, as far as economic values, really, a lot of it comes from our own hands. What we do with our hands, that's volunteer. We get together. We can do things together. We can have cost savings if we all get together on problems that our community needs to face. So as far as thrivability goes, let's raise our level of thinking.
Localization. We are hearing more and more about the importance of local economies. How do you plan to kickstart local business and ensure more people who live here also work here? And should the district take a position on encouraging independent, locally owned businesses and discouraging the arrival of more chain businesses?
Souk has grown at a rate faster than the jobs available for locals. We live in a wonderful place, and other people also want to participate and enjoy what we have. Healthcare is important to our community. It's something you all know I've been advocating for. Part is because I know that the services are needed here, but I also know that brings solid employment to our community. And more people in Souk using those facilities will then hopefully frequent and do more errands within Souk. We have wonderful businesses that have started in our town. We need to talk to them. What's worked for you? What challenges do you have? And for those that were put away or moved away, what happened? How could things have been different? We have development that's stopped in our town, and we have vacant land available. So we need to talk to realtors and developers and find out, what are the barriers here? It seems that we have a disconnect happening, and let's solve this, but we need to solve it together. But at the same time, we have local businesses expanding outside of Souk. It's wonderful to see them in other parts of the world and hear about their successes. In terms of commercial leasing, it's private. It's a landlord-tenant matter. But I think the best thing we can do is when you see someone local out and about, go visit them and say hi and congratulate them on the successes that they have.
Okay. I've heard that a future country grocer food store and other retail shops will be built in the vacant fields alongside and behind the Hope Center. A new shopping plaza on Souk Road. I thought we were trying to get away from strip development, the Langford model. I believe it can only lead to more congestion on Souk Road. It'll provide jobs, but it's going to lead to more congestion. I would suggest otherwise. Maybe we should plan for a shopping plaza along Otter Point Road, across from John Phillips Park, perhaps, with the main entrance off of Grant Road. Let's keep traffic off of Souk Road. If we plug up our main corridor with local traffic, tourists may decide to go elsewhere. If it's too much of a hassle to drive to Souk, remember, we are the gateway to the rainforest. We need to grow our tourism. We can provide jobs in tourism. Yes, let's do more. Let's provide zoning for neighborhood stores. Site the store for a 15-minute turnaround walking there and back. Build one in Sun River, Whiffenspit, Grant Road, Maple Avenue. Maybe just have a mobile trailer sited there that is replenished with new stock in a timely manner. We should increase zoning for light industrial fabrication, assembly. Otter Point Industrial Park, Van Isle Marina are examples. There's an opportunity to set up wood furniture, modular housing plants, IKEA knockoff products. How about electric golf cart assembly? Call it the Souk Newt. Create more farming opportunities, more art and craft galleries, storefronts. There's a world of possibilities. Let's make them all happen.
Thank you.
I'll try standing up, not so nervous anymore. How do we kickstart businesses? Well, I think that we've got a mix of businesses in our community that are successful and some that are borderline. So we need to look at the ones that are successful and model them. How have they endured the storm? How have they been here? How have they become successful? We need to look at pre-zoning properties. We need to look at locating businesses appropriately. We need to look at streamlining our processes at City Hall. We need to make it easy for businesses to do business. We need to have walkable corridors. We need to have a plan in place of where our retail is going to go. And if that's pre-zoning, we have to be bold. We have to take opportunities where we can and tell people we're going to encourage them. We're going to shop there. We're going to have them in the right locations. And Should we encourage small businesses? Absolutely. It's a short drive to the east from here to the big box stores. I think most of us don't want to see that vision of big box stores. They eventually will come when our population gets to a certain size. But you know what? We have a real cool, trendy place now. So to kickstart businesses, we need to do 3 really basic things. We need to encourage them to look at our community. We need them to see where they can be located. And then we need to streamline that process from the time that they have an incubated idea, a little embryo of an idea, to the time they can open the door and have customers coming through. That time frame is too long. So that discourages business. They get frustrated and they go elsewhere. So.
Number 14.
Please share your knowledge of how the District of Sault is working toward carbon neutrality, developing a clean, renewable energy economy, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay. There's lots going on. Make lots going on. Answer short. Drive-throughs annoy me. Let's bring back the park and attendant service model. I don't know if any of you remember the A&W where they came up to your car, rolled down the window, put the tray there. I think that'd be kind of a novelty thing to bring back to Sault. Actually, people would probably flock out here. Hey, let's go. You know, Friday night. If any new takeout wishes to locate here, maybe we should have that as one of the things they should do. Please, no more drive-throughs. A lower speed limit could also, get this, imagine Sault Newts racing across Sault, under the speed limit. But let's allow electric golf carts in some neighborhoods to be driven to shops and services. You know, I vision in the future, that's why I want to lower the speed limit, folks, is we'll have golf carts eventually, golf cart in every driveway, along with your usual standard car. But just imagine getting into a golf cart and going down to the shopping plaza, loading up with groceries, and then going home. Hey, that's going to certainly cut the carbon out of the air.
So, there is a plan in place, and there has been a plan in place since October the 7th, 2013. It's called the Community Energy and Emissions Plan. There is some action items, what the community is working on. The land use enhanced urban containment boundaries to reduce transportation and force where development will go. Sounds like a great idea. So if we can reduce how far people have to drive, carbon footprint's reduced. Organics diversion from Heartland landfill, also part of the recommendation. There was a group that put this together with BC Hydro in 2013. Land use light, larger lot size outside of our growth area, and mixed use. So again, you're encouraging outside of our urban area, or our core area, bigger lot sizes. So you don't have density, so you have less people because there's less property, so they're traveling less. Improving walking infrastructure, sidewalks connecting, and improving the walkability around our central schools. It sounds so simple, but that will reduce our carbon footprint. Trails around schools, because unfortunately when I was a kid, my mom didn't drive me to school every day, but now people are driving every day. So we need to enhance that walkability, and along with that walkability is the safety. It's mixed into walkability, so it goes without saying. And the fifth action item is promote home retrofits, so that builders and homeowners alike are encouraged to use energy-saving devices, heat pumps, less reliant on heating oils, etc., electricity.
The district operations have become carbon neutral. In some ways, things like a municipal hall lighting retrofit, the greening of our operations fleet. Our fire chief drives a hybrid vehicle, as does our bylaw enforcement officer. Our fire apparatus trucks have been converted to biodiesel. Souk is working with the CRD and Transportation Canada to remove the 14 derelict vessels from our harbor. We have a sewage treatment plant, and we're working on the next phase of stormwater collection. There's some things like that, which are excellent, but I think our most success, and our success will come with working with the schools and working with the South Nation. They've been leaders in working and living in harmony with the lands and the waters. Solar project, the greenhouse, the harvesting of the lands. We have a tremendous opportunity to work with the South and to learn from their wisdom, from their success that they've already done, and to work with our school trustees and our schools, bringing this message home to our children.
Thank you. I think it's time now for a break. Is this on? Yeah. It's time for a break, 10 minutes, and then we will come back for questions and answers. So we'll be ringing the bell in 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Answers. There is a microphone in the front here where the carrot lady is, and you can line up there for your question. Ask the candidates the questions. So I think we're ready to roll. Go ahead, Anne.
Hello, my name is I'm a Carrot. I belong to the Saturday Souk Country Market. And I know when you go on holiday to another country and you're in a small village, maybe in Latvia or Peru or Japan, and you hear that it's market day, then you want to go, don't you? Because you know that something special is going to happen there. There'll be something delicious to eat, there will be something to do, great things to see. And when you're there, you'll get a sense of the character and the personality of that town, the heart of that town. Now, we have a country market and we have wonderful people who make wonderful things, but we don't have a permanent place to be. We don't have that heart. And so I'd like to know what your ideas are for creating that sense of place, that location that's in the heart of Souk, where we can have the activities that convey the character that we have in our town. We have a variety of activities, not only the country market, but the other kinds of things that happen. So where would that place be for you, and what's important to you about the country market? Thank you.
All right, let's get started. I think probably a lot of you are aware, I said hopefully by now, that I would love to see a waterfront Central Park blossom in the heart of Souk. That's one of the major reasons I'm running for mayor. But I also have put forward proposals that, as far as the country market goes, if we did have that waterfront Central Park, we could have a position right there. If you look at the Church Road lights across from Jenny's, the bus stop, there is the open field there right along Souk Road. That's what I envisioned was put the country market right there. You know, put the food Chi Gardens along here. Put the library here. Put the senior citizens, youth activity center here. So I'm going, if we put our collective minds together, if we can get the next Office Council to say, let's do a feasibility study of having a waterfront Central Park, that maybe we can have a permanent home for the country market.
Well, you hit that part that I liked about the country market is the goodies that are there and those big giant cookies. I think that there's opportunities in our town core that we haven't seen yet we bought Lot A, this council bought Lot A, and the purpose of buying Lot A is not to compete with our current commercial enterprises in our town core. So we're going to be very careful about using Lot A, or the future councils should be very careful about using Lot A. It's public space. It's 5 acres in the middle of our town. Is that the place for the country market? I think there's potential there, but it's just a thought process for me. You know, the library is going to be there. We've also earmarked a piece of property for the senior center, senior youth center. And I think if we're careful, it can be a gathering place in our town center. You know, I take a lot of my ideas from my wife, and she wants a town clock and a sense of center. So I think Lot A has a lot of potentials. I mean, it's not a guarantee because obviously, but I think there's a lot of thought processes going to go in there. The current mayor and council has authorized a charrette to best decide what we should do with Lot A. It seems almost natural to me.
And I agree that's a great fit and a great use for those lands. I do want to wait for the outcome from our community engagement to see what other ideas are possible. And so let's say that it fills up. I think there's other unique places in Souk in the town center that the district could look at acquiring. We know we have a need for more space. And I think the market belongs in a place within the core where it's walkable and is close, so you can go and have lunch or brunch at the market and then go and visit and spend your time in that area and walk around. That's what I certainly enjoy doing. I love the country market. I don't have much of a green thumb, so I'm very grateful to have it there on the weekends.
Hi, my question is to each of you. What do you think is your biggest strength that you bring to the table, if elected as mayor, in leading a very great working, positive team in council chambers?
I think that I bring the leadership piece. I work for a large organization. I have about 700 employees that report to me. I've been recognized across our country as being an effective leader. I think delegation of authority is one of the things that I'm known for. That's my greatest strength, is I'm a team builder. So.
To listen. Everyone that is elected onto council has been selected by the community. My role is to bring out their strengths and their abilities, and maybe even some strengths and abilities they themselves don't know that they have. I know a certain councillor is very particular about how our funds are spent. It's important to listen to that councillor. And I know that when that individual gives his approval at the end, it's been well thought out and vetted. And we'll have a good decision on the end for anyone that's scrutinizing how we spend our tax dollars. Others celebrate in the arts, engagement with the youth. Council is about 7 of us, and it's the mayor's role to pull out the strengths and talents and to put them forward for the betterment of all of us. And that comes from listening to somebody to find out what's important to them, what they want to accomplish, what their concerns are, what their goals and aspirations are. And not just listening to the words, but actually hearing the message behind it.
I just jotted down some notes here. But for me, for a long time, another mantra is listen, learn, lend a hand. My forte is research. I have a journalistic background, and I'm used to actually working behind the scenes. I support other people in their initiatives, issues, endeavors. I do the research. So look at the models. Look at other town policies. How do they do things? What works? What doesn't work? Let's experiment with this. Collaboration. Could be potentially one of 7 points of view at the council table. So if anything, if you want to vote for me and you figure, oh God, who'd want to vote for Mick? I'm going, you got 6 other councillors that can keep me in place at times, I suppose. Working with professional staff. We do have at the District of Sault professional staff. I go, God, what a resource to draw from, you know? You're trying to do problem solving and everything, and you go, what's the legality of this? Geez, I wonder who I should ask. So I'm going, working with 6 other council members who have their points of view, a professional staff, we're going to come up with some creative solutions for Sault.
Hello, my name is Rosemary Joanna. I have heard from this audience and from the questions that there is a desire for access to the water, there's a desire for green space, there's a desire for food security, better agriculture, and a market. We also have the oldest farm, private farm, in the province, and it's on the market. It is on the waterfront, it's spacious. Is there any ability to acquire that? Is this in parks acquisition? Is it a partnership that could be made? Because it would provide a place for a country market, a place for community gatherings. That's just my suggestion.
Thank you for reminding me about Woodside. It has the oldest historic farmhouse in Western Canada, I believe.
Yes.
It's situated right next to our sewage treatment plant. A great way perhaps to look at opportunities of infrastructure and the like. I'm not certain that our Parks Reserve Fund would have the funds necessary, but there's always the option to go to referendum, to ask the community, what do you think? At what price? And to put it forward that way. So that certainly does exist, and I appreciate you reminding me of that. Thank you.
Woodside Farm, as far as the history of it, yeah, it was a very productive farm, I guess 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I remember when I moved here 1977 through the 80s, they were still doing some crops. Most of it now sits fallow, probably get 2 hay crops. You drive in the back end, as the lady has said, you know, right down to the waterfront, there are open fields. You know, Woodside Farm, you see it from the highway, but you go down towards the waterfront and it's just more open fields, and I go, wow, that's all sitting there, you know, could be productive once again. That's why I was suggesting, you know, let's have a levy, you know, or have part of the park acquisition fund towards a levy for farm acquisition farms. So maybe we can get some young families who want to live the dream, you know, of cultivating farms. I'm thinking, you know, approach the Wilfords and say, all right, maybe it's too expensive to buy the property, but maybe there could be some sort of leasing the acreage so that the Wilfords would at least make some money off of it, and somebody who's industrious, a family or two, could cultivate the fields. It would be a win-win situation for everyone.
Well, I can't disagree. It's a spectacular piece of property. There's absolutely no doubt. I'm trying to think of a pragmatic approach of how we could get it. I'm wondering if we could designate it a heritage site and start lobbying the provincial government. We have a premier in our riding, and maybe there's some partnerships that we could come, because you know there is some grant funding that probably could be available. But I absolutely think it is worthwhile exploring it. I don't know how we could secure it from a financial point of view, but I agree with you. It's absolutely an incredible, valuable piece of property in our community, and once it's gone, it will be gone. So a big decision for a lot of people coming in to think about. So, but thank you, Mrs. Joanna, for the wonderful suggestion.
Hi, my name is Phil Rosner. A great statesman, Winston Churchill, once said, "As individuals we die once, but as politicians we can die 1,000 times." And in other words, as a musician, you know, it's comparable to a really tough gig, right? So I'd like to know what personally drives you to want to take on this position. Thank you.
What drives me is I love Souk, love the people in Souk, I love nature. That's why I'd love to see a waterfront park in Souk to remind us all what a beautiful place we live in. If we ever do get that park, just imagine going down there, walking around. There's the Souk Harbor, there's the Souk Basin, there's the Souk Hills. That's the heart of Souk. We got to at least preserve the viewscape. There's going to be new development going in there, but maybe we can convince the developer, go build over on Wadden's Way, build your retail, build your high density if you want. We'll do a land swap. But what drives me is I've been blessed with good health. I've been blessed with ability to journalistic background, research, and I went into retirement, and I was going, you got all this time on your hands, what are you going to do, Mick? You know, I was doing public advocacy in Victoria, but I decided I'm going to step back, move to Souk, to slide into retirement. But I didn't like to see the changes that were happening in Souk. I thought, hey, wait a minute, we're losing the essential character of this town, we're moving too fast. And so there I am, pondering. Can I just sit on my hands? I got all this time in my hands, sit on my hands, or do something about it. So I decided, all right, I'm going to step forward. I could remain on the lower rung of the ladder. I'm going, no, I'm going to climb. I'm going to climb up to the top and everything. And I'm going to share my point of view with you all. That's what drives me.
Excellent question. Thanks, Phil. What drives me is all of you, but it's the eyes of my grandchildren. When I look at, I've got 4 of them now, and they're 6 generations born in Souk. I want that Souk for them. You know, I opened up with saying that. What drives me is my love for my town. I grew up here. I was fortunate enough to go to this school. I went to Cicino School. I had to work out of town. You know, our industries disappeared. But you know what? Souk's a wonderful place, and hopefully the people who came before me and their values will be maintained by my passion for making the community better. Every day I ask myself, what can I do today to make it better? So, and I'm not always successful. It is a tough gig. And you're exactly bang on. It's not easy sitting up there at the front of those meetings and thinking about decisions that are going to affect people's lives. It's a tough thing. But at the end of it, I do it for my love of the community and for the people that live here and my grandchildren.
They say in politics you need to have a thick skin. I don't. I think the moment I grow a thick skin, I'm done in local government. I like to feel like I'm more like a duck, you know, and it just rolls off your back like water off a duck. I love the work. It's such interesting, dynamic work. I go for a day looking at, I'll be at our sewage treatment plant and looking at Bristol worms under a microscope. And then looking at roads and sidewalks that are being built. Learn a lot about infrastructure. And then I get to meet a lot of people. I get to go into schools and talk to our kids. They're the hope for the future. And the energy in those rooms is just amazing. And our young people are so connected to this town. They live here all the time. Their parents might commute, but their lives are here. And they love it. And I enjoy meeting with them. I like helping people. It's a brownie, I got all the badges. And what was the motto? It was to lend a hand and to serve other people before yourself, especially those at home. And I think that's a real value. I thought initially that local government would be boring, like, man, 500 pages of this material. But it's really interesting work. And you make a difference in people's lives. I love it. I just think it's the most rewarding experience that I've had. And I'm very grateful to have had that privilege.
If you get elected, or rather when you get elected, I'd like you to talk to, or for, the other two people who aren't going to be elected. What do you think is their superpowers that they have to offer the community?
Could you ask that again, please?
When you get elected, it's going to be your role to help everybody find what's their superpower and enable people to create the change that they want to see. Now you're sitting with two people who aren't going to be elected. Could you talk about what you see as being their superpower?
Theirs or mine, we'll say.
Theirs, the other two people.
And you get the last. You just heard a frank discussion from our current mayor. 10 years in political life, and she hopes to have a thin skin. That means she cares. Her superpower is about her passion about caring. Can she be the Prime Minister of Canada? Absolutely. Mick, he's got a passion that's directed at trying to simplify things because we're in a fast-paced environment. And he doesn't quite like what he sees, the way Soup's evolved. He's been here since the 70s, back and forth. So his superpower is about getting us to slow down. Maybe it's to stop and smell the roses. And maybe he's pointing out just what we should slow down and smell those roses just once in a while. So I think his superpower is about take time to enjoy where you're at.
I love this question. I was watching The Incredibles recently, and when I think of Kevin, I think of his ability to see the strength in people and his positive energy. And it's always the case where in that superpower is the woman in this case could have this bubble and she would protect her family with it. That's what Kevin does with his positive energy and how he always recognizes the strength and the goodness in people. And he's a strong advocate for teamwork. With Mick, I would say it's an accountability piece. Remember the connection to the water. There's a value there about what's important, our connection to natural spaces, natural beauty. Let's not just drive by it, but actually pause, stop, and look. So I fully expect that when that developer comes forward for a rezone or the like, that Mick will be in the audience and will say, okay, this land is being developed. Where is the view corridor? Where's the public park? Where's the gathering place? And that's what I think his superpower is. It's reminding us of our natural assets and what's important. Can't think of a movie offhand, but it'll come to me later.
All right, Maya, I see you going on to further higher office. Doors have opened for you. What are you, first vice president for the university, for the municipality? Yes. People have recognized your talents, your grace, your leadership, and so I expect, more doors will open for you, and it will probably benefit us all as her star rises. She got her start here in Sioux, like John Horgan got his start, Langford Colwood. Kevin, lifelong member of Sioux. I expect that even after this election, win or lose, that you'll continue with your passion for the community and your ideas of where the town should go. And in the sense that it's been a pleasure meeting with you. You're a fun guy. I think I could work with you also, and I hope to collaborate with both of you at a future date. Right.
The DFO put some restrictions on our local fishermen this year and more projected next year, with some people being concerned that there might be a closure. So I'm curious how you are wanting to advocate for our local fishermen and our community, because that will really affect our ability and our economics.
So first off, when our MP had a coffee meeting, I went and talked to him about it. A relationship with our member of parliament is important on these matters because he is our voice in Ottawa. So always having that relationship with someone in senior government is very important. The CRD, and through Mike Hicks's work, is moving the Brooks hatchery into the Sioux River, which I think is very important because it's about increasing those numbers. And I think that's part of it is getting the numbers of the fish returns increased every year and providing that so that the orcas have a fair share of food as well. We've done some pieces. We've advocated recently at the UBCM. Councillor Pearson spoke to that. And that sort of message was heard and supported by the rest of the union and as well as other coastal communities. So it's working together with other municipalities on the coast and ensuring that our MP understands what the local concern is.
Thank you. We all know I'm an avid sports fisherman, not a sports catcher very often, but sports fisherman. It's an important question to understand that the fishermen, I was at a meeting last weekend with a group of concerned charter fishermen, people who earn their living in the sports fishing industry. The passion they have about wanting the SRKW to survive can't go unnoticed. The regional director Hicks put together an amazing deal to transfer the Jack Brooks hatchery over to the Sioux Salmon Enhancement is going to be now over at the charters. And the work that goes on behind the scenes can't go unnoticed. So for me as an advocate, it has to be demonstrated in terms of the economic impact. This is not just about a group of fishermen. This is about the livelihood of a lot of people in a lot of coastal communities. The AVICC, which Mayor Taylor's just talked about, is the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities, and it goes right up to Haida Gwaii now. They're actually members. So it's getting that voice and getting that out there. There's an online survey right now about the impacts, and at least this time the federal government is taking more input than they did last time. So what I would say as a proponent is to make sure everybody who has a vested interest actually fills out that survey and sends a letter to the minister. So will I be advocating? Absolutely, 100%. But it's a big picture. And I want it really to be clearly known as that the sports fishing industry are amazing stewards of the ocean because they're the eyes and ears on there. And they want nothing more than the survival of SRKW. And they want any closures to be based on science. That's what they're asking for. So it's a pretty simple message. But again, as a local community, we've got to stand strong with our friends in other communities. That's the linkage.
It's a real shame that our salmon has declined so rapidly. You can look at the history and where they're saying the oceans were teeming with salmon. Sad for our native friends also. I would say first off that, lobbying government, we need to double, triple, quadruple our efforts for salmon enhancement hatcheries. It's great what Mike Hicks has been doing, the announcement, and everything else that people here in Souk have doing, the volunteers that work on the hatcheries. I was at the open house on the weekend. It was just great to have a tour there. I live out on Otter Point. Actually, I live in the trailer park right off of Otter Point there, and you see the fishing boats out there all the time, and I've always wondered with the salmon closure, it was from Renfrew to Otter Point, from Otter Point to Souk, so all right, so they said, we're going to close it because, the whales are starving, and I'm going, yes, we need to feed the whales, but the salmon, dropped so much they're starving. But I was saying to my friends, God, I sit out on the beach here every day, and I don't really ever see the orcas really coming close to shore. But you got all the fishermen that are basically close to shore. So I'm going, well, they're catching the fish that are close to shore, and the orcas are out in the middle of the street scooping up the salmon. So I'm going, well, as far as making the closures, it's sort of like I'm going, is it just window dressing or what? That they close it between Renfrew and Otter Point, because not everybody fishes between those two areas. Maybe they fish on the other side of Renfrew, and they fish on this side of Otter Point. So you read in the paper, fishing closure, but then you also read, fishing's great in the Souk area. There's people with pictures, of salmon, and I'm kind of going, I'm somewhat confused. They're actually going to do a comprehensive study, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. This is their first comprehensive study as to the migratory patterns of the salmon in the Wanna-Fuca Strait. Do they come along the shoreline? Do they go along the middle of the shoreline? And so, we're waiting for the reports. So as far as the closures, I'm kind of going, let's look at this carefully. Is it window dressing? Because as far as our sports fishermen go, it is an economic generator for our town and local fishermen's food on the table.
Thank you. It's 9 o'clock. Be out of here by 9:30. So I'm just suggesting that maybe some of the people who have questions can ask a question, and any one of our candidates could answer, so that we have a bit more turnover before we close for the evening. Is that acceptable to everybody? Okay, so just go ahead. Yeah.
Derek Lewis. I found thanks to Transition Souk for hosting this event. The questions are really great, and there's a lot of questions about the OCP, the environment, farming. But as a lot of people may know, on Monday night, Council voted to shred the OCP for the interest of one party on a property that was agriculture, that's now industrial, beside a stream that bears salmon. We also heard that the candidates are interested in learning from our mistakes, that we're a young community. So my question is going to be a simple yes/no to all of the candidates. Would you support requesting an investigation by the Inspector of Municipalities for an inquiry into what happened during this time on that property to find out how we can learn from that mistake to ensure it never happens again? Thank you.
The question is related to oh, you want me to say yes or no?
Yes or no? That was the moderator's request. Keep it short.
I don't think it bears a yes or no answer, but my answer is yes. I would support that. But I think it's important to know that when you have tough decisions to make, they're not willy-nilly decisions. People look at the big picture. I've been proud of this council, the mayor and the council, all the way through. There's an equal and opposite reaction to every decision. And that's part of, we heard from Phil Rossner earlier, that's the tough part of that. And do you always get it right? History will tell us that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying anyone got it wrong. We just know that there's a lot of mistakes. Council acknowledged that there's a lot of stuff that got missed, and I just want to know if we can get to the bottom of how we got there, and let's prevent it again.
Absolutely, if we could prevent something like that happening, no problem.
Are we answering the same question, or?
No, I think we probably should, but he's requested it if he's here from everybody, so I don't know.
I have no problem answering this, I just also want to consider people on the line. So I'm going to answer this one and get the next question. So I'll just quickly say no and move to the next person.
This is a common problem for me.
Just a minute, please, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
All right, let's just have let's just cut to the chase and everything. I would say yes, I would support it, and I would also say, with all due respect, I don't think Mr. Driver, from the very beginning, acted in good faith.
Okay. Next question, please.
Hi, Alison Watson. I just had a question around emergency preparedness, and I'm not sure who to direct this to. Seems somewhat unfair. But I just wanted, yeah, okay. I wanted to know if you were satisfied with the current emergency preparedness model at a municipal level. So I know every household has our responsibility in it. I just want to know what your take is on our current plan.
At the start of the season, at the end of June, our fire chief and our fire department and all the rescue volunteers put together a full training exercise that simulated a wildfire threat coming through to our community. It was a great opportunity to actually be out on site and to monitor and to see how a fire would happen, what an emergency response center, it was set up here in the gymnasium, would look like, and what our resources were like. 3 days later, the Tugwell Creek fire broke out. So the timing couldn't have been better in terms of being prepared. In terms of each household, though, we have a lot of work to do. Some of the work has started with Block Watch, and then the emergency volunteers also have neighborhood pods. I also think there's a need to have some sort of a kit in your car. Like, until we know what's happening with Highway 14 and there's an accident that shuts the highway, if everyone had just, here's a little list of things that you need to have in your vehicle for those sorts of incidents, that would be very important. So there's a lot of work that we need to do in this. I think we were off to a great start, but we need more of that. And as newcomers come into our community, maybe as part of the Welcome to Souk, it goes into the welcome wagon. Here's your preparedness list. Hydro was out, I think, yesterday for a number of hours. So that would have been concern for many people, just in terms of now what happens. So there's a lot of work to do, but we have had a good start to it.
Thank you. Let's leave it at that. Yeah. Next question, please.
We have an OCP that a lot of time was spent on. A lot of people in Souk put their hearts and minds into it. And if you've read our 1988, our 2001, and our 2010 OCP, they are all very similar, and people have generally wanted the same things. I heard tonight people talking about our community gardens, about spaces for commercial nodes. Those things are all in the OCP. And I really wonder if we are all reading our OCP and our zoning bylaws and understanding what they say. And if and when we renew our OCP, that we will have all the public involved, and not like this last sort of partial OCP review that was just council and staff, basically, but a full OCP review with everybody involved. And will you then review your OCPs and zoning amendments and uphold them? The reason I ask this is because I was talking to my brother, who was a mayor in a town in Saskatchewan for 20 years about this size, And I was talking to you about the situation that went on here, and he says, well, that's the job of council, is to withhold the OCP and the zoning. That's our job. So I'm just asking, will you respect and listen to the people of Souk and have the people of Souk draw the OCP up and then follow it?
All right, I moved here in '77, and all throughout the first 15 years I was here, we were talking about official community plan. We were having meetings in the community hall. People would turn out. We would have a vision of what we wanted to see the future of Souk. This happened through the 80s. It happened through the 90s. I moved away. I figured, well, you know, to be the official community plan, it is a sacred trust. You've got committed citizens. You've got committees meeting saying, what vision do we want for Souk? They write it all down. They discuss the matters. You know, these people here, they're saying, yes, let's make the town, you know, what we wanted to see. And I'm going, don't mess with the official community plan. We spent hours, weeks, hundreds of hours, and just to simply say, oh, we're going to amend this, we're going to amend that. Well, if you want to amend anything, wait for when it's time to amend, not before.
Okay, thank you. Next question, please.
I'll ask it. So we've heard you all expound the natural beauty of Souk and the resource out here in terms of the lifestyle that it affords us. And we have also heard you talk about town center densification, which is a great idea. We live right on the edge of the boundary of Souk, so we see what's going on the backside of Souk. And I haven't heard anybody talk about that. We see the sprawl, we see the trees coming down, we see changes to the creeks. We see those impacts. We see the bears coming into our neighborhoods more and more because the corridors are being pinched by development. And then we see money being put towards dealing with those problems. And it's all about putting garbage cans in a different way. So we wonder what your commitment is to managing the backside of Souk on all the edges, on protecting those wild spaces. We live on Mayoral Creek, and that is a very important wildlife corridor that allows the flow from the hills down to the river and the ocean. It's also a salmon run creek. We see the hatchery leaving that creek now. We see properties right on the edge of the creek being rezoned for dense housing neighborhoods. And we see more and more bears coming out into the neighborhoods. So we wonder what your commitment is to keeping that wildlife corridor intact.
So the balance between development, where it should be and where it shouldn't be, does affect. Our backdrop in Souk is all the Souk Hills. And that interface, the further we go out, the more active the interface becomes for wildlife and humans. It's a difficult piece because the challenge is that people are coming and development is coming to Souk. People want to be here. Where's the appropriate? The densification of the downtown core, I think, is absolutely critical to revitalizing it. But there's still a big demand, a commercial demand for single-family residential homes. That's still a dream for a lot of people in Canada. It's difficult to make decisions, and a lot of those big developments along the hillside have been in process now for longer than I've been on council, and probably even longer than Mayor Tate has been on council. A lot of them have been approved in principle, changed hands, gone broke, come back. So is that development? Are those developments in the right place? There's a lot of arguments both ways, because we have farmland in our downtown core that I think we have to maintain. I think that appropriate development on a rock hillside has its challenges with runoff and all of the things that are there. But is it the right place? Part of me says yes, it is, and that'll sound political. I think it's the right place to do the development, but we do have to protect those corridors. So yes, my commitment is to protect those corridors that are important to wildlife. It should be noted that Souk Salmon Enhancement is leaving the Demaniel Creek because of water supply. They're struggling with the water supply in that creek. And that was a decision by DFO to remove the dam that's guaranteed that water supply a number of years ago. So there's been a deal made for the Charters Creek hatchery from Wanafuka water supply to guarantee a water supply flowing there so that we can do the salmon enhancement. There's challenges with development. Again, yes, my commitment to you is that we'll protect those wildlife corridors, but I think we're not going to see the end of the development in the short term, but we have to manage it.
Thank you. Next question, and it'll be the last one. We do have to get out of here. So,
Randy Harding, and I'd like to direct this question to Mayor Tate. Simple and straightforward. How much input will council have on provincial traffic decisions?
On provincial traffic decisions, so let's talk about Highway 14. They are putting together a discussion paper following the public feedback that was held earlier this summer, the online survey as well as the open house that they had here. We had some of our staff met with the decision for what's happening on Souk River Road. There was 9 various options that were laid out. Part of that, though, is lands are held by the South Nation, so there's another government that is working through those decisions as well. So in that case, council had probably no feedback into it onto Souk River Road. It never came before council. What I understand with what their greater plans are is that they're intending to engage with council when that comes forward. They knew that I said, okay, you've presented to us, but we want you to present that report when it's ready back to us. And that needs to be in an open meeting for all of us to have time to comment and to gain feedback on. So I will be pushing for that and making that request, so that it's not done, that we just don't, well, it's up to the ministry and whatever. So, yeah. We need better engagement, but at least there's an open dialogue now. I couldn't even get a meeting with the former Minister of Transportation, and now we can. That helps.
thank you.
Just a quick question about what do you guys see you can do to help improve the relationship between the local Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Group that's in Souk, or the possibility of hiring a economic development officer to help steer the commercial businesses that may be coming to Souk to help pay for higher wages and larger tax base?
So we're talking about economic development, hiring somebody to work between the Chamber of Commerce and the District of Souk. Is that the question?
The question was your relationship with the Chamber of Commerce or the Economic Development Group, or the possibility of hiring an economic development officer.
All right, how to build a relationship with the Chamber of Commerce. Well, I guess sit down and talk with them and listen to their ideas. For me, I suppose it's learning what does the business community want? What does the neighborhoods want? There's a lot of people that want this and that. For me, it's sitting down with them, consulting with my staff, consulting with the councillors. Let's come up with win-win situations. So I'm all for it. Let's increase the jobs in this town. As far as higher wages, I suppose there's some difficulties there. I see in the future that maybe we could have, craft assembly plants, springing up in Souk. I also see in the future that Souk Elementary is going to close down. So maybe we can put in a satellite university in there, Royal Roads, UVic, We can train people for the higher paying jobs in the future. We have a retirement community here. We're going to need maybe people learning to become professional nursing aides, that type of thing, So there's a lot we can consider as a council. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this forum. I would like us to give a big round of applause to the candidates who. I wish you a good evening, and please have a safe journey home. Thank you very much.